Homage to the Blessed Teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. With deepest reverence I bow and gather a mind of purity, respectfully inviting all devoted practitioners to listen together to these profound and wondrous teachings of the Dharma. The silent current of time flows ceaselessly onward, forever changing according to the law of arising and passing away, gently reminding us of the fragile and fleeting nature of human existence. Whether one attains wealth and noble status or lives amid hardship and poverty, no one can escape the universal law of birth, aging, illness, and death. Beyond these evident sufferings, human beings must also face separation, unfulfilled desires, encounters with those they resent, and unforeseen misfortunes that arise throughout life. As old age draws near, the body weakens, illness afflicts, and the mind becomes anxious and fearful, revealing most clearly the suffering inherent in this human existence. After leaving behind this physical body, each being is reborn according to the wholesome or unwholesome karma they have created, continuing endlessly through the cycles of rebirth. We remain immersed in the painful wheel of birth and death, and on the day commemorating the passing into nirvana, the hearts of many cannot help but feel deeply moved and reflective. All devotees turn their thoughts in gratitude toward the boundless compassion of the Blessed One, who, even as a prince, recognized the impermanent truth of life. Seeing that life is an ocean of suffering shaped by birth, aging, sickness, and death, he renounced his royal comforts to seek liberation for himself and all sentient beings. He entered the depths of the forest, practicing austere discipline and steadfast meditation beneath the Bodhi tree until he attained supreme enlightenment. After awakening, he traveled far and wide, living on alms and sharing the light of the true Dharma, illuminating countless beings lost in delusion. Throughout his life of teaching, he endured many hardships, and upon his passing, he left behind an immeasurable treasure, the liberating path of the Dharma. Though his physical form is no longer present, his truth remains, like the sun dispelling the darkness of ignorance, bringing peace and clarity to all beings. The teaching of impermanence reveals that everything in life is constantly changing, and nothing endures forever, from the body to the human mind. Because this truth is not deeply understood, people remain entangled in suffering, clinging and caught in endless afflictions. Though the teachings may appear concise, they contain vast and profound insights into cause and effect, karma, and the endless cycle of rebirth. These teachings guide us to recognize the path of practice, helping us to uproot greed, anger, and delusion within the mind. They also remind us to abandon harmful habits such as selfishness, deceit, jealousy, and criticism that bring suffering to others. Through this, each person learns to cultivate calmness, develop wisdom, and nurture compassion in order to live a more meaningful life. When body, speech, and mind are purified, one ceases to create negative karma, thereby establishing a life grounded in truth, morality, and peace. Such transformation not only benefits oneself, but also spreads to family and society, becoming a shining example for others to follow. In addition, stories of moral teachings awaken individuals to recognize the true value of life and the path toward liberation. Most importantly, the methods of practice help us transcend the suffering caused by impermanence and realize a state of serene freedom. Although the teachings are deeply practical, many still fail to apply them, endlessly chasing fame, gain, and sensual desire. This only leads the mind into confusion, causing life to sink into wrongdoing and unnecessary suffering. Therefore, those with wisdom should awaken early, cultivate goodness, avoid harmful actions, and strive to help both themselves and others. Only then can one truly honor the profound compassion and guidance of the Buddha. A gentle reminder to those with affinity is to always remember his boundless grace and diligently walk the path of practice. We feel immense joy in encountering this work, as though receiving a priceless spiritual gift. This is a work of great value, offering practical benefit to both monastics and lay practitioners alike. If we patiently listen and reflect upon it many times, we will clearly perceive the impermanent nature of life. With such understanding, we will strive diligently in practice to transcend the painful cycle of birth and death. We sincerely pray that all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas compassionately protect and bless all beings with peace and well-being. May everyone live in tranquility, protected day and night, with hearts always inclined toward goodness. May the teachings of the Buddha spread far and wide, guiding all people to practice and walk the path of righteousness. Buddhist families and those with affinity may together contribute to the noble mission of sharing the Dharma. This work has been composed with sincere devotion, like a humble flower offered in reverence on this sacred day of remembrance. With heartfelt respect, I present it to all practitioners, hoping it will be received and practiced in accordance with the true Dharma. May all beings awaken, abandon what is unwholesome, and return to the path of clarity and truth. Living in the compassionate light of the Buddhas, may we diligently cultivate ourselves and move toward the ultimate realm of peace. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. And now, let us listen to this opening reflection on the brief and impermanent nature of human life, drifting like clouds across the sky. Life gathers and disperses, leaving behind countless regrets, causing both fear and sorrow as time quietly slips away. When death finally comes knocking, all must be released, leaving only the pain of separation and endless tears of farewell. Since my own birth, whenever passing by funeral processions, I have witnessed with my own eyes the sorrowful scenes of parting between life and death, leaving the human heart deeply moved and heavy with grief. The images of children weeping for their grandparents and parents, or parents bidding farewell to their children, and husbands and wives parting in anguish, have deeply etched within my heart the sorrowful tragedy of human existence. From these experiences, I awakened the aspiration to study and distill the precious teachings of the Shakyamuni Buddha, in order to illuminate clearly the impermanent nature of life. I have endeavored to gather these noble teachings into a small book, hoping to help others recognize the ever-changing truth that governs all phenomena. Although I have long wished to share this work widely, I have often hesitated, feeling that my abilities are still limited and insufficient for such a task. Yet, if I continue to delay, life will pass by in vain. So I remind myself to act diligently and not betray the grace of the three jewels. With all my limited understanding, I sincerely offer these reflections as a humble way to repay, in part, the profound kindness of the Buddha's teachings. Thanks to the joyful support and favorable conditions created by fellow practitioners, this work has finally come into being and is now presented to you. If there are any shortcomings within its contents, I humbly and sincerely seek guidance and compassionate correction from wise and virtuous friends everywhere. For this life is but a temporary resting place, like an inn along the roadside, where each of us is merely a traveller who will one day depart. The light of enlightenment from the Buddha has long illuminated and warmed the hearts of countless beings wandering in the long night of ignorance. Though much time has passed, his teachings continue to resonate, offering profound and timeless value to all humanity. This world is inherently fragile and impermanent, and all things lack any enduring essence, despite what we often mistakenly believe. If we contemplate deeply and realize that both body and mind, as well as circumstances, are not truly solid or lasting, we will gradually release attachment and transcend suffering. The Dharma of the Buddha is the path that awakens us from delusion and reveals the truth of liberation. Only upon attaining awakening can we truly transcend suffering and help others cross the vast ocean of cyclic existence. The Buddha taught that this body is a temporary composite. The mind is not a fixed self, and all phenomena are fleeting and without permanence. When we understand and apply the teaching of impermanence in daily life, our afflictions will gradually dissolve and the mind will become calm and at ease. From there, we steadily move closer to awakening and fulfill the noble path of liberation. Contemplate life as fragile as a bubble, as illusory as a dream, so that we are no longer swept away by craving and attachment. Death is always near and arrives without warning. Therefore, the wise remain mindful and live meaningfully in every single moment. Though the teaching of impermanence appears simple, it contains profound values that help shape both spiritual depth and moral integrity. These teachings answer many questions about the body, the mind, our circumstances, and the path toward inner peace. They also help us understand how to face death without fear or confusion. When we listen deeply and reflect upon the Dharma, we begin to feel its wondrous power and the boundless peace it brings. With persistent practice, one can fulfill the aspiration to transcend birth and death and live a life of freedom and joy. If this work brings benefit to anyone, it is entirely due to the inconceivable power of the Dharma. I dedicate this merit to all beings, wishing that everyone may soon be free from suffering and return to the path of awakening. May all abandon killing, take refuge in the three jewels, and uphold pure moral conduct. Each person should practice vegetarian living, recite the Buddha's name, give generously, and nurture compassion toward all forms of life. When loving kindness spreads, the world becomes peaceful, and humanity lives in genuine happiness and harmony. May all karmic obstacles be dissolved and all afflictions transformed, so that body and mind remain light, pure, and at peace. As merit and wisdom are cultivated, one moves ever closer to the complete realization of enlightenment. All beings throughout the Dharma realm have the potential to attain Buddhahood if they practice in accordance with the true path. Impermanence means that all things are unstable, constantly shifting from one state to another without ever remaining the same. According to natural law, everything arises, endures for a time, transforms, and ultimately dissolves, a process that cannot be avoided. To truly understand the impermanence of body, mind, and circumstances, we must contemplate deeply within every lived experience. The human body changes moment by moment over time, gradually moving toward aging, decline, and death. Science also confirms that the cells within our bodies are continuously arising and ceasing, ensuring that we are never the same from one moment to the next. Each passing instant is itself a transformation, reminding us again and again of the impermanent nature of this body. The Buddha taught that all phenomena are like dreams, like bubbles, like morning dew that vanishes when touched by the sunlight. Therefore, the wise contemplate the coming together and falling apart of all things, so they no longer cling to the body or to the world. Moved by the profound suffering of human existence, he resolved to renounce worldly life, attained enlightenment, and became known as Shakyamuni, bringing the Dharma to liberate beings from the ocean of rebirth. Dear practitioners, the body we cling to is, in truth, not enduring at all, for it is merely a temporary formation that cannot free us from birth, aging, sickness, and death. From the very moment we dwell within the womb, we already begin to experience suffering in a confined, dark space surrounded by impurity. As we are born and grow, we must endure countless illnesses, accidents, and ever-present sorrows that quietly linger and arise throughout the course of life. When old age arrives, the body weakens, the skin wrinkles, the hair turns grey, teeth fall out, and even simple movements become difficult as sickness increasingly takes hold. The suffering of old age gradually brings a person closer to death, a kind of pain so profound that words cannot fully express its depth. In the final moments near death, the mind becomes confused, overwhelmed with fear and panic at the thought of parting from this world. And eventually, the time comes to bid farewell to this life, departing according to the karma of good and evil, that one has created. No matter how much people try to avoid it or rely on medicine and remedies, no one can escape the natural law of birth and death. In the scriptures, it is told that the Shakyamuni Buddha once asked his disciples about the human lifespan in order to awaken their understanding. Some believed that human life was long. Others said it lasted several decades, while some thought it endured only for a brief period. Yet in the end, the one who truly understood the Dharma realized that human life exists only within a single fragile breath. The Buddha praised that disciple, for he had seen deeply into the impermanent nature of life itself. Indeed, human life rests upon each breath, and if the exhalation is not followed by another inhalation, then everything immediately comes to an end. No amount of wisdom, wealth, or worldly achievement can be held onto once life has ceased. All material possessions must eventually be left behind, for nothing can be carried along when one closes their eyes in death. Whether rich or poor, all beings stand equal before death, which none can escape. Fame and gain that people struggle to obtain are ultimately like drifting clouds or bubbles on water, without any lasting value. We come into this world empty-handed and leave it the same way, leaving behind only a cold and silent grave. Yet people still cling to the illusion that they will live forever, endlessly competing and harming one another. Even if one possesses gold, jewels, or great power, all will be swept away by impermanence without leaving a trace. And still, people continue to struggle and create negative karma, only to return eventually to dust. This reminds me of a story from the time when the Buddha was still in the world, teaching his disciples about the suffering of beings. On one occasion, he stood with his disciples upon a mountain, gazing out over the vast ocean, and asked them what they saw before them. The disciple replied that he saw only the boundless sea stretching endlessly without shore. The Buddha then taught that the waters of that ocean are not as great as the tears shed by beings through suffering and separation. Throughout countless lifetimes, beings have wept more tears over birth and death than there is water in the great ocean. The bones of beings wandering in the cycle of rebirth would pile higher than great mountains, revealing the endless continuity of suffering. On another occasion, the Buddha asked his disciples whether life is permanent or impermanent. They all replied that everything is impermanent and cannot endure forever. He then asked whether human experience is suffering or happiness, and the disciples recognized that its true nature is suffering. The Buddha taught that this body is not a true self and should not be clung to as mine. Everything, from the body to possessions, is temporary and does not truly belong to us in any lasting way. From past to present to future, there is nothing that can be called a permanent and independent self. The 5 aggregates of body and mind are also impermanent and must be contemplated deeply to release attachment. When one understands this clearly, one grows weary of worldly entanglements and begins to walk the path toward liberation. This body is inherently temporary, yet people mistakenly cling to it as real, thereby creating many unwholesome actions. Because of attachment to self and craving, people are willing to kill and harm countless beings to satisfy their desires. Yet all beings fear death and long to live, just as humans do. A fish caught on a hook struggles in panic. A bird pursued by hunters flees in terror, each treasuring its own life. Even animals about to be slaughtered shed tears, expressing their deep fear and suffering. So why do humans still bring themselves to kill them, merely for habit and the pleasures of taste? From the act of killing animals, the human heart gradually becomes hardened, capable of harming even one another. Familiarity with bloodshed nurtures cruelty within the mind, leading to conflict, violence, and widespread suffering. For the sake of delicious meals, countless lives must endure agony and tragic death. The cycle of karma ensures that beings endlessly repay one another, bound within the ceaseless wheel of birth and death. In truth, simply living a humble life with modest meals is enough to sustain the body while preserving the purity and peace of the mind. When one learns to restrain desires, the mind becomes spacious and clear, allowing time and inner capacity to cultivate wholesome actions and walk the path of spiritual practice. Therefore, may everyone awaken compassion, learning to love, protect, and respect the lives of all beings, without exception or discrimination. To cause suffering to any living being is to go against the profound teaching of compassion given by the Shakyamuni Buddha. For true love must extend equally to all forms of life. Human life is like a lonely boat drifting upon a vast river, carried aimlessly across an ocean of tears filled with suffering and entanglements. In striving to sustain the body, people compete and harm one another. Yet, in the end, they must abandon this very body and depart empty-handed. Because of the countless karmic debts created, human beings endure continuous suffering, with layers of sorrow accumulating without end. When speaking of the suffering of human existence, there is a story from the time when the Buddha still walked the earth, concerning a powerful and mighty king. One day, this king, filled with authority and fame, came to visit the Buddha with the expectation of receiving praise and admiration. Yet instead of praising him, the Buddha offered a profound teaching to awaken the king's wisdom. He asked the king what he would do if 4 enormous mountains advanced from the 4 directions, crushing everything in their path. The king reflected and replied that there would be no way to resist or stop such overwhelming Shakti and destruction. The Buddha then explained that those 4 mountains represent birth, aging, sickness, and death, which continuously advance upon all beings. Because people do not understand the Dharma, they live in ignorance, indulging in pleasures without awareness of karma and its consequences. Thus, they remain bound by these 4 great sufferings, unable to escape their influence. From the moment within the womb, human beings already experience discomfort and suffering beyond description. If the mother eats or lives improperly, the fetus also suffers, as if scorched by heat or frozen by cold. When the mother feels hunger or thirst, the fetus too experiences discomfort and deprivation within the body. At birth, the fragile body must suddenly face a harsh external world, a painful experience likened to being cut or torn apart. The cry of a newborn is the first expression of suffering in human life. In childhood, one must rely entirely on the care and protection of parents in order to survive and grow. As one matures, life presents countless challenges and hardships in the struggle for livelihood. When old age arrives, the body weakens, the senses fade, and the clarity of the mind is no longer as sharp as before. The elderly often become confused, their speech unclear, and at times they are even disregarded or looked down upon by others. These sufferings make life feel heavy, uncertain, and burdened with unease.
Illness arises when the four elements that constitute the body fall out of balance and harmony. When earth, water, wind, and fire are no longer in equilibrium, the body gives rise to various forms of disease. The body becomes heavy, aching, and uncomfortable, as if pierced by needles or burned by fire. Conditions such as headaches, toothaches, paralysis, or weakness gradually wear a person down. When illness becomes severe, the senses diminish, food loses its taste, and the body is filled with pain. The mind grows sorrowful, speech becomes faint, and the spirit weakens into exhaustion and despair. As death approaches, the four elements within the body begin to disintegrate. Pain spreads throughout the body as if it were being torn apart, while breathing becomes increasingly difficult and faint. The body grows cold, life gradually fades, and the capacity to sustain existence comes to an end. No matter how great one's power or wealth may be, nothing can resist the inevitability of death. In the end, one can only surrender to the unyielding law of nature. After death, the physical body dissolves, yet karmic force continues to guide one toward new realms of existence. Those who understand the Dharma accept this truth with serenity and practice diligently to prepare for that journey. Life is fragile, and impermanence arrives suddenly, beyond anyone's ability to foresee. There are stories of people attempting to escape death through various means and desperate efforts. Some try to ascend into the sky, others dive into the depths of the ocean, while some hide in remote mountains or blend into crowded places. Yet when karma ripens, no one can escape death, regardless of where they may be. This reveals that nowhere in this world can one avoid the law of birth and death. When one truly understands impermanence, suffering, and non-self, one will know how to practice in order to transcend the cycle of existence. By following the teachings of the Buddha with sincerity and diligence, we can attain peace, freedom, and liberation from all suffering. No matter where one hides, whether in the vast sky, the deep ocean, or the remote mountains and forests, death cannot be avoided. The Shakyamuni Buddha taught that all beings must pass through birth, aging, illness, and death as an inevitable law of existence. When witnessing others fall ill or pass away, many people quickly feel sympathy, yet forget that they themselves cannot escape aging, sickness, and the death that awaits ahead. Recalling a story from a monastery, there was once a monk who suffered from a severe illness, his body covered in sores and oozing blood and pus, causing others to recoil in fear and avoid him. Yet the Buddha, with boundless compassion, personally came to care for him, cleansing his body and tending to him with great devotion until he recovered. That act became a radiant example of compassion, reminding all disciples to care for and support those who are suffering. As followers of the Buddha, we cannot remain indifferent to the suffering of humanity, but must open our hearts to share, care, and uplift one another. Helping the sick not only brings relief to them, but also allows us to contemplate the impermanence of this body and deepen our diligence in practice. It is also a way of accumulating merit for the future, laying the foundation for a life of peace and eventual liberation. On the contrary, if one looks upon the elderly or the sick with disdain or indifference, one will inevitably face the karmic result of loneliness when falling ill oneself. This body is in truth a vessel filled with countless ailments and dangers, and there is nothing within it worthy of pride or attachment. In the past, when the Buddha resided in the city of Shravasti, a group of practitioners once gathered to discuss what suffering was greatest in life. Some said that hunger and thirst were the greatest suffering, as they weaken the body and bring unbearable distress to both body and mind. Others claimed that anger was the greatest suffering, for in anger, people lose control and cause harm to themselves and others. Some believed that fear was the deepest suffering, as it disturbs the mind and keeps one constantly uneasy and trembling. Still others argued that desire was the greatest suffering, as it burns the mind and leads to countless misfortunes. When the Buddha heard this, he taught that these were only minor sufferings and not the true root of suffering. He pointed out that the root of all suffering lies in this very body, for all afflictions arise dependent upon it. Because there is a body, there arise hunger, anger, fear, and desire, giving birth to countless consequences and entanglements. People cling to the body, worrying, calculating, creating conflicts, and sinking deeper into the cycle of birth and death. If one wishes to transcend suffering, one must learn to collect and steady the mind, practicing the right path without being carried away by deluded thoughts. One must cultivate morality, concentration, and wisdom to gradually purify body and mind and move toward liberation. Only with clear and awakened wisdom can one attain the peace of nirvana and transcend all worldly suffering. The Buddha once taught that nothing burns more fiercely than desire. Nothing is more poisonous than anger, and nothing brings greater suffering than this very body. The greatest joy is the peace of nirvana, a state beyond birth and death, free from all afflictions. Therefore, the wise must awaken quickly and save themselves by taking refuge in the three jewels. They must cultivate the true treasures of a practitioner, known as the 7 noble qualities. These include unwavering faith in the three jewels, which forms the foundation for entering the path of practice. Observing moral precepts helps restrain unwholesome actions and establishes a life of purity and integrity. Having a sense of shame and remorse for wrongdoing, along with a sincere repentance, is essential for self-transformation. One must develop generosity and willingly help others, nurturing a heart of compassion and kindness. Diligently studying the teachings allows wisdom to grow and illuminates the correct path forward. With wisdom, one can release mistaken attachments and steadily progress on the path of liberation.
These 7 noble treasures are invaluable provisions that help practitioners overcome difficulties throughout life. Those who uphold moral conduct and perform wholesome deeds will not fall into poverty, either materially or spiritually. Many people, through blessings from past lives, encounter wise teachers and gain the opportunity to practice the true Dharma. They take refuge in the 3 jewels, uphold precepts, recite sutras, chant the Buddha's name, and perform good deeds to accumulate merit. Yet some believe they are still young and that life is long, so they feel no urgency to practice. They fail to realize that impermanence can arrive at any moment without the slightest warning. The great masters have long advised not to wait until old age to begin practicing, for by then it may already be too late. Many people neglect practice while they are young and healthy, only to feel regret when illness and death draw near, when nothing more can be done. Cemeteries are filled with those who departed while still young, reminding us of the fragile and uncertain nature of life. Therefore, a true practitioner must always remember that impermanence is ever present and can take life away at any moment. When seeing others fall ill or pass away, many feel sympathy, yet forget that they themselves are also walking steadily toward birth, aging, sickness, and death, which none can escape. Recalling the quiet monastery of long ago, there was a monk afflicted by a severe illness, his body covered in sores with blood and pus flowing, causing anyone who saw him to recoil in fear and keep their distance. Yet, with boundless compassion and loving kindness, Gautama Buddha personally cared for him, gently cleansing his wounds and tending to him with unwavering devotion until his body gradually recovered. That noble act became a profound lesson in compassion, reminding all practitioners that they must learn to care for and support those who are suffering in life. As followers of the Dharma, we should never turn away from the suffering of others, but instead open our hearts to share, uplift, and support one another in times of hardship. Caring for the sick not only helps ease their pain, but also allows us to deeply contemplate the impermanent nature of this body, strengthening our diligence on the path of practice. It is also a means of accumulating merit, planting wholesome seeds that lead toward a life of peace, happiness, and eventual liberation. On the contrary, if we see someone suffering from illness and respond with disdain or indifference, we ourselves may later bear the karmic consequence of loneliness when sickness befalls us. This physical body is, in truth, a gathering place of countless illnesses and misfortunes,
holding nothing worthy of attachment or prideful clinging. In ancient times, when Gautama Buddha resided in the city of Shravasti, a group of monks once debated what constitutes the greatest suffering in human life. Some believed that hunger and thirst were the greatest suffering, for they weaken the body, disturb the mind, and bring intense discomfort and pain. Others argued that anger was the greatest suffering, because in moments of rage, a person loses reason and causes harm to both themselves and others. There were those who claimed that fear was the deepest suffering, as it fills the mind with constant unease, causing the body to tremble and never find peace. Still others insisted that desire was the most profound suffering, as it burns within the heart and leads to countless misfortunes and afflictions. When Gautama Buddha learned of these discussions, he taught that all these were merely outward expressions and not the true root of suffering. He clearly revealed that the root of all suffering lies in this very body, for all afflictions arise from attachment to it. It is because there is a body that sensations of hunger, anger, fear, and desire arise, giving birth to countless consequences and entanglements in life. Humans, clinging to the body as something real and permanent, become consumed by worries, calculations, resentments, and endlessly drift within the cycle of birth and death. To escape suffering, one must learn to maintain a pure and tranquil mind, practice the right path, and avoid being carried away by restless and delusive thoughts. It is essential to cultivate moral discipline, meditation, and wisdom in order to gradually purify both body and mind and move toward true liberation. Only when wisdom is awakened can one attain the peaceful state of nirvana, transcending all worldly suffering. The Buddha once taught that no fire burns as fiercely as desire, no poison is as dangerous as anger, and no suffering is as great as this body itself. True happiness is the stillness of nirvana, a realm where there is no birth or death, and all afflictions are completely extinguished. Therefore, a wise person must awaken swiftly and return to take refuge in the three jewels in order to save themselves from the vast ocean of suffering. One must diligently cultivate the true values of a practitioner, known as the 7 noble treasures, which are exceedingly precious. First is unwavering faith in the 3 jewels, forming the foundation for every step on the path of spiritual practice. Observing moral precepts helps prevent wrongful actions and establishes a life of purity, stability, and inner peace. Feeling a sense of shame for one's mistakes and sincerely repenting to transform oneself is indispensable on the path of cultivation. One must nurture generosity, practice giving, and help others in order to deepen and expand compassion within the heart. Diligently studying the teachings helps develop wisdom and enables one to recognize the right path in life. When wisdom arises, a person can let go of mistaken attachments and move ever closer to liberation. These 7 noble treasures are the invaluable provisions that allow practitioners to remain steadfast in the face of all difficulties and challenges. Those who uphold moral discipline and perform wholesome deeds will not fall into poverty, either materially or spiritually. Many people, due to blessings from past lives, encounter wise teachers and are given the opportunity to approach the true Dharma. They learn to return and take refuge in the 3 jewels, observe precepts, chant sutras, recite the Buddha's name, and perform good deeds to accumulate merit. However, there are also those who believe that because they are still young, there is no need to practice yet, thinking that much time still lies ahead. They fail to realize that impermanence arrives unexpectedly and never announces itself to anyone. The wise have always advised not to wait until old age to begin practicing, for by then the body and mind have already weakened. Many people indulge carelessly while they are healthy, only to feel regret when illness draws near. But by then, it is already too late. Cemeteries are filled with those who passed away at a very young age, serving as a stark reminder of the fragility of human life. Therefore, a Buddhist practitioner must always remember that impermanence is ever present and can end one's life at any moment if one does not remain mindful and diligent in practice. There are those who must endure great pain and hardship in life before awakening and developing the aspiration to practice, like someone who only seeks the light after reaching the depths of suffering. There are also those whose heavy karmic burdens lead them to resignation, believing that life inevitably ends in death, thus denying cause and effect and acting wrongly without fear. They live recklessly, unaware of the path of cultivation, like a wild horse that refuses to be tamed, or a gravely ill person beyond remedy. Such individuals believe themselves to be strong, yet in truth, they are gradually descending onto a path of suffering and darkness without even realizing it. Each person should reflect deeply upon themselves to recognize which of these types they belong to, so that awakening may arise sooner rather than later. Many people wait until they are gravely ill and close to death before becoming fearful, hurriedly inviting monks to pray for their well-being and vowing to practice if they recover. Yet, when the illness passes and the body regains strength, they forget their initial vows and continue living carelessly just as before. Meanwhile, when Gautama Buddha was still a prince, he needed only a single encounter with old age, sickness, and death to awaken his resolve to renounce the world and seek the path. And yet we witness such scenes countless times without awakening, because we always believe that death is still far away from us. Because of this illusion, people continue creating karma, committing many unwholesome actions without making any effort to transform themselves. Remember that the path walked by those who came before us is one we too must inevitably tread sooner or later. If one believes they will not die, they feel no need to practice. But if one understands that death comes to all, then one should begin practicing diligently from this very moment. As much as we care for our living, we must equally prepare for death by cultivating and transforming both body and mind. Practice is not merely entering a temple or displaying outward forms, but truly transforming harmful habits and unwholesome tendencies in daily life. It means guarding the body from wrongdoing, keeping speech truthful and harmless, and maintaining a mind free from greed, anger, and delusion. When one practices in this way, afflictions gradually diminish, and life becomes more peaceful and joyful. Within a family, if each person learns to yield and be patient, conflicts and arguments will naturally fade away. When a hot-tempered person encounters someone gentle and patient, all tensions can be dissolved, and the household becomes harmonious and warm. When insulted by others, remember that this body is fragile and may perish at any moment, and is not worth clinging to in disputes of gain and loss. If others speak harshly, allow their words to pass like a fleeting breeze without reacting or holding on to them. For if one responds in kind, exchanges of harsh words can escalate into greater conflict, leading to serious consequences. Sometimes, mere words can lead to violence, injury, or even loss of life, bringing along countless layers of suffering. Those who commit such wrongs may face imprisonment, shattered families, and leave behind deep pain for their loved ones. Yet many mistakenly consider such behavior to be strength, while those who practice patience are seen as weak, which is truly a tragic misunderstanding. We should let go of the urge to compete and not allow ourselves to suffer because of the harsh words of others. According to the teachings on mindfulness, we should contemplate the breath to stabilize the mind and remain undisturbed by external conditions. The in-breath and out-breath help us recognize the state of body and mind, allowing us to release the afflictions that arise within. Praise and blame, insults and admiration are in truth like passing winds, lacking any lasting or solid essence. Our body and the bodies of others are formed from various conditions, and there is no enduring, separate self within them. When this truth is clearly contemplated, all notions of gain and loss, pleasure and pain will gradually dissolve. Conversely, if attachment to the self remains, afflictions and resentment will continue to arise without end. When facing adversity, one must keep the mind steady and use wisdom to restrain anger. Return to the breath and contemplate cause and effect in order to extinguish negative mental formations. A mindful person can overcome all difficulties with lightness and transform adversity into something wholesome and beneficial. In life, we often encounter situations that go against our wishes, causing the mind to become troubled. To end suffering, one must maintain mindfulness and cultivate loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity in every thought and action. Gautama Buddha taught methods of practice to purify the mind, such as developing loving kindness to eliminate anger. Contemplating compassion helps remove cruelty and opens the heart to embrace all beings with love. Practicing sympathetic joy helps eliminate jealousy and brings about genuine happiness. Nurturing equanimity allows one to release resentment and live with lightness and freedom. Contemplating the impure nature of the body reduces attachment and reveals that this body is not inherently pure. Reflecting on impermanence helps dissolve attachment to the self and reveals that all things are constantly changing. Practicing mindfulness of breathing harmonizes body and mind, leading one toward a state of calm clarity and deep awareness. A practitioner must remain mindful day and night, continuously observing and guiding body, speech, and mind, so that all actions align with the true Dharma and never stray from the path of awakening. In every circumstance, even the smallest gesture or action must be illuminated by mindfulness to avoid falling into error. To transform suffering and affliction, it is essential to firmly maintain mindfulness and anchor the mind in the present breath. When the mind is nourished by loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, greed, anger, and delusion gradually fade, and inner peace and liberation arise. The wise have advised that when insulted by others, one should regard it as though unheard, thereby preserving inner peace and serenity. If one knows how to be patient and gentle in conduct, resentment will gradually fade away, and life will become lighter, more peaceful, and deeply at ease within the heart. When we treat others with loving kindness and compassion, all hatred slowly dissolves, giving way to understanding, empathy, and a sincere connection between human beings. Simply responding with a wholesome and kind heart allows conflicts to naturally resolve themselves in a quiet and harmonious manner without force or struggle. Reflect deeply on how many times in life we have unintentionally lost precious bonds with family members and friends through moments of carelessness and lack of awareness. Many parents, lacking restraint, become angry, scolding or even striking their children, unintentionally causing deep emotional wounds that may last a lifetime. They forget that the mistakes of their children are no different from the very same errors they themselves once made along their own path of growing up. If they could instead guide with compassion and patience, children would more easily recognize their faults and transform themselves in a positive and meaningful way. A lack of tolerance not only brings suffering to oneself, but also harms others, causing the loss of precious familial love and connection. In all relationships, from family to society, one must cultivate love and forgiveness so that all may grow together on the path of virtue and understanding. The wise of the past taught that harmony should be the foundation in dealing with others, while continuously reflecting upon oneself to correct one's own shortcomings. When one understands the truth of life, forgiveness becomes natural and the heart opens wider, embracing others with greater ease and warmth. Look upon the many scenes of sorrow in life to truly realize the value of love and connection while people are still alive.
There are those who only cry and express heartfelt words of love after their loved ones have passed away, overwhelmed with grief and regret. Yet, when they were together, they often spoke harshly, wounding one another with careless and hurtful words. When loss finally comes, regret arises, but all words and tears become meaningless, unable to undo what has already passed. At that moment, expressions of sorrow serve only to console oneself, for they no longer hold meaning for the one who has departed. Everyone wishes to hear gentle and loving words, so why do we not offer them while we still have the chance to do so? Let us give kind words and sincere actions to one another in the present moment, while we are still together in this fleeting life. For everyone must one day depart, and separation is an inevitable truth of human existence that none can escape. The meditation masters have advised us to contemplate death regularly so that we may live with awareness and cherish every precious moment. When we truly understand impermanence, we begin to live more kindly and treat others with sincerity and respect. In this way, when loved ones pass away, we are not tormented by regret for what we failed to do or say while there was still time. In life, there are people who habitually speak harshly, yet believe that such behavior is simply being straightforward and correct. In truth, careless speech causes harm and diminishes one's own value and dignity in the eyes of others. A person of culture and virtue always knows how to guard their speech, carefully considering their words before speaking. One should avoid excessive joking or disrespectful remarks, as such behavior easily makes others feel uncomfortable and hurt. Before speaking, one must reflect deeply to ensure that their words do not cause unnecessary harm. Avoid arguing over winning or losing or criticizing others harshly, for such actions only increase suffering and discord. Instead, speak with humility, gentleness, and sincerity, maintaining calmness even in moments of anger. Words that are kind, timely, and appropriate bring benefit and create goodwill among people. Truthful and gentle speech carries the power to transform hearts and build meaningful and lasting relationships. Conversely, words spoken in anger and without restraint lead to conflict and bring about harmful consequences. Those who are easily angered and loud in speech often fail to achieve success and instead invite trouble upon themselves. In daily life, one must avoid hurting others through careless and thoughtless words. When offering feedback, praise, or criticism, one must be skillful and tactful so as not to cause others to lose face. No one enjoys being criticized, so it is important to consider the situation and express oneself
in an appropriate and respectful way. Praise should also be given at the right time and in the right measure, avoiding exaggeration that may cause discomfort or embarrassment. If praise is misplaced, it can lead to jealousy and misunderstanding within a group. A wise person knows how to communicate skillfully, speaking in ways that bring benefit and harmony to all. Within a community, it is important to encourage others appropriately so that everyone can progress together, as timely and sincere praise creates shared motivation. If one shows favoritism by praising only a few individuals while neglecting others, it may cause them to feel inferior and lose confidence in themselves. Over time, this weakens the collective spirit, leading to undesirable outcomes and even failure. Therefore, when offering feedback or criticism, one should first use sincerity to support and acknowledge the good qualities in others. Then, with gentleness and care, point out shortcomings in a way that helps them recognize their faults without wounding their dignity or self-respect. The elders taught that when we treat others with tolerance and generosity, our merit naturally grows, whereas harshness and severity gradually diminish the blessings we have cultivated. In communication, words serve as the bridge that creates goodwill with those around us, and therefore must be used with the utmost care and mindfulness. To create a sense of closeness, we should maintain a calm and composed demeanor, gentle gestures, and a face that reflects warmth and ease. Our voice should be clear and soothing, with a natural rhythm and tone that allows the listener to receive our words comfortably and without strain. We should avoid using language that is confusing or vague, as it can lead to misunderstanding and bring about unnecessary consequences. It is also wise not to discuss the private matters of others or raise topics that easily provoke disagreement during conversations. For regardless of right or wrong, heated arguments often diminish goodwill and create distance between people. A wise person understands that winning and losing only bring affliction, while letting go is what truly brings peace to the heart. During conversation, one should not speak excessively about oneself or repeat the same subject over and over, as it may cause others to feel weary and disengaged. If someone is unwilling to answer, we should respect their silence and refrain from pressing them further. We must also avoid the habit of spreading rumors or gossip, for such behavior only creates more suffering and damages relationships. The elders once reminded us that a misstep can be retraced, but a careless word, once spoken, is difficult to take back or repair. There are those who possess vast knowledge, yet their speech is unpleasant, causing others to turn away rather than listen. Conversely, there are those with little formal learning, yet their sincere and gentle speech earns the trust and affection of others. To cultivate such qualities, one must uphold moral discipline, study the teachings, and refine one's character with integrity and grace. From the way we dress, walk, speak, and smile. Everything should reflect dignity and be appropriate to each situation. We must always remain mindful to guide body, speech, and mind, preventing the heart from wandering aimlessly after desires. When one's conduct is steady and refined, their words and actions naturally inspire trust and respect from others. Life itself is as fragile as a dream, yet many people remain absorbed in competing over trivial words and insignificant matters. Because of this, they remain trapped in cycles of affliction and rebirth, unable to find true peace within themselves. A single careless word can create resentment, while a sincere word can bring harmony and reconciliation. If we learn to speak kindly and reflect carefully before speaking, we can avoid many mistakes and sources of suffering in life. By simply letting go of one argument or one need to win, we move one step closer to inner peace and contentment. Instead of engaging in meaningless talk, we should devote time to mindful recitation and practice, cultivating wholesome conditions for liberation. For a family to be happy and society to be peaceful, each person must practice patience and nurture a heart of tolerance. A virtuous person is one who knows how to endure, maintaining a pure and steady mind amidst the ever-changing conditions of life. Within a family, when spouses learn to yield to one another, conflicts are avoided and harmony is preserved. In society, when people care for and support one another, life naturally becomes more wholesome and fulfilling. By upholding ethical values and living in accordance with the true Dharma, one can enjoy lasting peace and stability. Birth, aging, illness, and death are burdens that no one can escape in this human life. What happens to others today may also happen to us at any moment, without warning or exception. This body will one day decay and return to dust, like a dried tree or discarded wood that holds no lasting value. Through this understanding, we see clearly that the body is fragile and not worthy of clinging attachment. If we make good use of our youth to perform wholesome deeds and practice diligently, we will not regret when old age arrives. For life is in constant change, and the suffering of birth and death always lingers close around us. Afflictions such as greed, anger, and jealousy all arise from ignorance and a lack of mindfulness. They disturb our inner world and make life heavy with suffering and unrest. To transform these conditions, Gautama Buddha taught that most suffering is created by our own actions and perceptions. We cannot escape suffering by seeking outside help alone, but must return to observe and understand our own mind. We need to reflect on ourselves, our circumstances, and each of our actions in order to clearly see the roots of suffering. Only by maintaining constant awareness can we recognize and abandon the wrong perceptions that have long kept us bound in suffering. If someone comes to insult or offend us, and we respond with anger, not only do we suffer, but we also prolong the suffering of the other person. According to the true Dharma, in such situations we should not react with anger, but instead remain calm and observe the situation with clarity. We should look deeply into the causes behind their behavior so that we may understand the true nature of what is taking place. If we truly recognize that we are at fault, we should sincerely admit our mistakes and make the effort to transform them, thereby purifying the negative karma we have created. If we are not at fault, then perhaps others have misunderstood us, and in such cases, we should use wisdom and gentle speech to clarify the truth with calmness and understanding. Acting in this way not only protects us from suffering, but also helps others release their misunderstandings and gradually ease their own afflictions. To be free from suffering, one must live in accordance with the principles of morality, concentration, and wisdom, as taught by Gautama Buddha. Upholding moral discipline brings stability to life, providing the foundation upon which the mind can develop true concentration and stillness. When the mind is calm and attentive to the breath, we are able to contemplate deeply the true nature of both body and mind. Through such contemplation, wisdom arises, allowing us to clearly understand the truths of impermanence, non-self, and dependent origination. With wisdom, we learn to love and forgive, and as a result, life becomes lighter and far less burdened by suffering. Without understanding, true tolerance cannot arise, and thus wisdom becomes the essential key that opens the door to liberation. The true path leading to peace is the cultivation of wisdom, which eliminates ignorance from the depths of the mind. When ignorance is completely uprooted, one attains the serene state of nirvana, no longer bound by afflictions or suffering. Nirvana is the complete cessation of greed, anger, and jealousy, a state of absolute purity and freedom. Gautama Buddha personally realized this path and compassionately taught it so that all beings might follow and practice. Those who practice the teachings correctly can experience transformation and genuine peace within their lives. After understanding the Dharma, people joyfully embrace it and diligently practice according to the teachings of the Buddha. Next comes a lesson on the harmful effects of jealousy, envy, and resentment in human life. There was once a monk who, seeing another being respected, gave rise to jealousy and began speaking ill of him. He believed that the other monk was deceitful and repeatedly spread false statements about him. His jealousy grew so strong that he could no longer accept sincere advice from others. Even when Gautama Buddha offered guidance, he refused to listen, as his mind had been clouded by anger and resentment. In the end, he left the monastic community and fell into a strange illness, born from the accumulation of unwholesome mental states. His body gradually deteriorated, haunted by sickness that no medicine could cure.
This was the consequence of long-held jealousy and resentment festering within his mind. The Buddha taught that such negative thoughts are like poison, destroying both body and mind from within. If not removed, they will bring suffering, not only in the present, but also far into the future. Therefore, practitioners must remain vigilant and not allow such toxic states to take root in the heart. After hearing these teachings, the monks awakened and resolved to diligently correct themselves. Time passes swiftly like a flying arrow, and no one can hold on to youth forever. Birth, aging, illness, and death are inevitable laws that all beings must undergo. Yet many remain unawakened, still immersed in jealousy and resentment toward one another. They fail to see that all gains and losses, all judgments of good and bad, eventually dissolve into dust. For this reason, the wise continually remind us to practice diligently, without delay. Each passing day is a portion of life fading away, like water slowly drying up in a shrinking pond. Without practice, one will remain submerged in suffering, unable to find a path of escape. This body is as fragile as a lamp in the wind, capable of being extinguished at any moment without warning. Therefore, we must quickly seek the path of practice to save ourselves from the vast ocean of suffering. To be born as a human is already rare, and to encounter the Dharma is even more exceedingly rare. If one has the fortune to encounter the true teachings yet does not practice, it is a deeply regrettable loss. For once falling into lower realms of existence, it becomes extremely difficult to regain a human birth. To be human is difficult. To live long is even more difficult. And to encounter the Dharma is rarer still. There is an ancient analogy of a blind turtle in the vast ocean that surfaces only rarely and happens to find a floating piece of wood, an event of extreme rarity. In the same way, encountering the Dharma is an extraordinarily precious opportunity that must be cherished and preserved. Gautama Buddha taught that obtaining a human body is exceedingly rare, like a chance that appears only once in countless lifetimes. Yet once gained, it is quickly destroyed by impermanence. Because people fail to understand this truth, they live carelessly, creating unwholesome karma and committing many wrong actions without even realizing it. O fortunate one, with the right conditions, awaken soon and free yourself from the realm of samsara, which is filled with suffering and delusion. Youth will inevitably pass, old age will arrive, and without practice, it is difficult to avoid the realms of suffering that follow thereafter. Yet people remain endlessly occupied with family, possessions, and daily worries, forgetting entirely the path that leads to liberation. They fail to realize that life is only temporary, like a roadside inn where we stop briefly before continuing our journey onward. Because they do not understand impermanence and non-self,
people neglect practice and remain submerged in suffering. To understand this truth more clearly, let us reflect on a story once taught by Gautama Buddha. There was a person who, overwhelmed by work and the loss of loved ones, lived in constant sorrow and found no time to listen to the Dharma. When this person came to see the Buddha, they carried deep grief and a body worn down by suffering. Seeing this, the Buddha compassionately explained that birth, aging, illness, and death are natural laws that no one can escape. He taught that youth will fade, health will decline, and in the end, everyone must face death. All meetings inevitably lead to separation, and nothing can remain forever according to human desire. Life itself is fragile, and all phenomena are impermanent. For once time has passed, it can never return. Therefore, one must practice diligently in order to progress toward nirvana and bring an end to all suffering. He advised using wisdom to contemplate all phenomena, seeing clearly that everything arises due to conditions. Whatever arises from conditions has no true self, and when those conditions cease, all things also come to an end. The body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness are merely temporary aggregates, with nothing worthy of clinging or sorrow. Understanding this, one no longer creates suffering for oneself through unnecessary worry and attachment. A practitioner must live with sincerity, free from attachment to appearances, and move toward a state of liberation and ease. This truth lies beyond words and conceptual thought, and can only be realized through one's own direct experience in practice. Just as only the one who drinks water knows whether it is warm or cold, no one else can experience it on their behalf. When one listens to the teachings and practices correctly, afflictions gradually diminish and inner peace naturally arises. This story reveals that suffering does not arise from impermanence itself, but from human attachment and craving. It is our clinging to relationships and material things that gives rise to sorrow and pain. There was once a woman who lost all her loved ones within a short time, becoming so overwhelmed by grief that she lost her sanity and wandered aimlessly. When she encountered the Buddha, she was taught that death is an inevitable reality that all must face. He revealed that all things are impermanent and that relationships, like dreams, arise and then dissolve. Through countless past lives, beings have shed more tears over loss than the vast waters of the ocean. Those who are entangled in attachment will continue to wander endlessly in samsara without finding a way out. Only by understanding the true nature of craving can one let go and discover genuine peace. The Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths, guiding beings to recognize the path that leads beyond suffering. The first truth is that life is filled with suffering, from birth, aging, illness, and death, to the many forms of emotional distress. Separation from those we love and encountering those we dislike are unavoidable forms of suffering. Even this body and mind are sources of suffering, as they are constantly changing and unstable. The second truth reveals that the cause of suffering lies in ignorance and craving. Because people do not understand the true nature of life, they are driven by greed, anger, and delusion. These emotions burn like fire within the heart, leaving one restless and deeply afflicted.
Wisdom is the deep understanding of oneself and life, seeing clearly that all phenomena are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and without self, thereby ending sorrow and bringing true peace. The fourth truth taught by the Buddha is the path that leads to the cessation of suffering, known as the Noble Eightfold Path, which guides beings out of delusion. This path includes right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. It is called the right path because it does not avoid suffering, but directly faces and transforms it. Mindfulness is the foundation, for when mindfulness is present, the mind becomes stable and wisdom begins to arise. With concentration and diligent effort, all actions of thought, speech, and body become aligned with the true Dharma. When wisdom is fully awakened, one is freed from all bonds of suffering and attains genuine peace. After hearing the teachings, those who understand realize that everything in life, including family and possessions, is only temporary and cannot be held onto forever. Through this understanding, they awaken the aspiration to practice according to the teachings of Gautama Buddha, choosing to live a life of mindfulness, serenity, and inner freedom. Those who are overwhelmed by worry, sorrow, loss, or failure often seek temporary means to escape or forget their pain. Such methods may ease afflictions for a brief moment, yet they cannot address the root causes of suffering. To truly end suffering, one must follow the path of practitioners, returning to meditation and deep inner contemplation. When encountering adversity, remain anchored in the breath and contemplate impermanence and cause and effect, so that the mind may find peace. In this way, even when external conditions are unstable and ever-changing, the inner world remains steady, clear, and undisturbed. There is a story of a great monk who understood his karmic conditions so deeply that he felt no fear even in the face of danger. When confronted by someone intending to harm him, he remained calm and composed, accepting what was to come with full understanding of karma. A mind unmoved by birth and death is a true expression of wisdom and genuine liberation. The law of cause and effect operates with perfect fairness, for whatever seeds are sown will inevitably bear their corresponding fruits. If one wishes to avoid suffering, one should refrain from doing to others what one would not wish to receive. Always remember that death may arrive at any moment,
and therefore one must diligently cultivate the path and nurture a heart of compassion. When living with a wholesome and kind mind, one experiences peace and happiness, both in the present and in the future. Guarding the 6 sense bases, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, so they are not led astray by desire, is the path leading toward liberation. By not clinging to appearances and not attaching the mind to praise or blame, gain or loss, one attains true freedom and ease. If attachment to self and form still remains, one continues to be bound within the cycle of arising and passing away. Understanding that this body is merely a temporary combination of elements without a true self, one becomes free from afflictions. The world is in constant flux, and nothing exists permanently or remains unchanged. This body of 4 elements will eventually disintegrate, and the 5 aggregates are merely compounded phenomena without lasting essence. Because of delusion and attachment to self, people create countless negative actions and continue to suffer within the cycle of rebirth. The mind is the source of all actions, and if left unguarded, it leads to error and suffering. A practitioner must contemplate deeply to dispel ignorance and move toward awakening. Life is like a dream, and without awareness, one will be endlessly swept along in the stream of birth and death. The human mind is restless and unstable, like a monkey leaping from branch to branch, or a horse running endlessly without rest. Because people cling to the mind as something real, they create countless mistakes and afflictions. Negative traits such as stubbornness, arrogance, anger, and aggression all arise from an untrained and unrestrained mind. If one does not correct these tendencies and instead takes pride in them, it is a deeply unfortunate form of delusion. When one mistakes false thoughts for reality, it is like mistaking a thief for one's own child, allowing afflictions to take control and dominate one's life in ignorance. Thus, we become wanderers in this world, drifting through the 3 realms and 6 paths, enduring endless suffering without knowing when it will end. To understand how the mind constantly changes and fluctuates, there is a story from the time when Gautama Buddha was still present in the world that is worth deep reflection. There was a young novice who had lost his parents and had no relatives to rely on, following only his uncle into monastic life and practice. One day, he received valuable offerings, but when he respectfully presented them to his teacher, they were declined because the teacher already had enough, leaving the novice feeling hurt and disappointed. While fanning his teacher, his mind began to wander, drifting into endless thoughts and imagining various worldly futures. He thought about leaving the monastic life, starting a family, raising goats, and living a peaceful life according to his own desires. These thoughts gradually pulled him further away from reality, causing him to completely lose mindfulness. Suddenly, an unexpected event startled him back to awareness, and he realized how far he had been carried away by his wandering thoughts. Frightened, he ran off and was brought before Gautama Buddha, where he received compassionate guidance on how to guard the mind. The Buddha taught him to watch over the mind like a herdsman watches over cattle, remaining constantly aware so that none would stray. By following this teaching, the novice returned to diligent practice, and eventually attained awakening and liberation. On another occasion, while going on alms round with the monastic community, he again began comparing himself to others and lost his mindfulness. The Buddha immediately recognized this and paused to remind him to return to awareness of the breath. He taught that in every step and every action, one must maintain mindfulness and contemplate impermanence and non-self. The fundamental practice is to clearly know each in-breath and out-breath, without allowing the mind to chase after wandering thoughts. When breathing in, know that you are breathing in. When breathing out, know that you are breathing out. This is the essence of true awareness. By maintaining mindful awareness of the breath, scattered thoughts gradually subside, and the mind becomes calm, steady, and deeply settled in clarity. When the mind is truly stable, wisdom begins to arise, allowing us to clearly see the true nature of the body, feelings, mind, and all phenomena. From that insight, one is no longer carried away by mistaken perceptions, and a deep inner peace naturally manifests within. The mind is inherently impermanent, constantly shifting and easily distracted if it is not guided and stabilized through mindfulness. Whether one is a monastic or a layperson, everyone must return to observe and regulate their own mind in each passing moment. Those living in the household life must understand that impermanence spares no one, and therefore should cultivate goodness and live with moral integrity. Only by doing good and avoiding wrongdoing can one gradually reduce afflictions and move closer to true peace. Gautama Buddha taught that one must guard the mind as carefully as protecting a fortified city from invasion. With just a single moment of carelessness, the mind can be drawn into unwholesome states and fall into suffering. Therefore, each person must remain vigilant, never allowing the mind to be swept away by the temptations of worldly life. There is another story about a learned monk who possessed great knowledge but had not yet attained awakening. Though he understood the scriptures thoroughly, he had not practiced deeply enough to free himself from afflictions. This shows that knowledge alone is not sufficient. One must practice in order to transform the inner mind. A student of the Dharma must both study and practice, not merely remain in theory while neglecting real cultivation. Only through direct experience and transformation can one attain true peace and liberation. There are those who, unable to control their mind, allow delusive thoughts to lead them astray, like mistaking a thief for one's own child and letting afflictions rule their life in endless confusion. Because of this, we wander through existence like aimless travelers, moving up and down within the 6 realms, enduring countless forms of suffering without end. To clearly see the impermanent nature of the mind, there is a story from the time of Gautama Buddha that invites deep contemplation. A monk, after leaving the community, encountered those who had already attained realization, including some who had once been his own students, and thus felt hesitant and reluctant to seek their guidance. Though he sincerely wished to learn, his attachment to the past and his sense of self caused him to hesitate repeatedly, preventing him from receiving instruction. Eventually, a young arahant compassionately offered a simple yet profound teaching through an illustrative example. He compared the human mind to a box with many openings, explaining that if all are left open, the crickets inside will scatter in every direction. In the same way, if our 6 sense faculties are left unguarded, the mind will be carried away by external objects and will never find stability. To observe clearly, one must close some of these openings and focus attention on a single point in order to see all inner movements distinctly. This is the method of turning inward to observe body and mind, recognizing each arising thought with clarity and awareness. With such awareness, the practitioner is no longer dominated by wandering thoughts and gradually attains mental stability. After hearing this teaching, the monk sought a quiet place to practice meditation as instructed. Through diligent contemplation and sustained mindfulness, he soon attained the fruit of liberation. This illustrates that restraining and guiding the 6 sense faculties is a fundamental foundation on the path of practice. When the eyes see forms without attachment and the ears hear sounds without being carried away, the mind becomes free. When the nose smells scents, the tongue tastes flavors, and the body encounters sensations without craving or aversion, the inner being becomes pure and serene. When the mind encounters phenomena without generating discrimination, it no longer wavers or becomes disturbed. When the 6 faculties are well governed, one is no longer bound by external conditions and attains a state of ease and freedom. This is the state of a mind unmoved amidst the ever-changing flow of life. Gautama Buddha taught that all beings inherently possess wisdom and the awakened qualities of a Buddha. Yet, because of ignorance, they fail to recognize this and allow the mind to chase after delusions. By simply returning to observe the mind with mindfulness, wisdom will gradually reveal itself. At that point, compassion naturally radiates toward all beings without any distinction between self and others. One who reaches this state continues to live in the world, yet the mind is no longer bound by anything. They perceive clearly without attachment, living freely and at ease in every circumstance. However, on the path of practice, practitioners are often influenced by the 8 worldly winds of life. These include gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and disgrace, pleasure and pain, all of which can cause the mind to fluctuate. If mindfulness is not firmly maintained, one will be swept away by these changes and lose inner stability. Conversely, if the mind remains steady and unshaken, life becomes peaceful, balanced, and deeply serene. A true practitioner must diligently train so as not to be shaken by the 8 worldly winds that so easily disturb and weaken one's resolve. For if one is easily influenced by such forces, one will remain submerged in the cycle of samsara, unable to attain true liberation. Therefore, one must persevere in cultivation, maintaining a steady and unwavering mind in all circumstances in order to progress toward awakening. When asked where the mind abides, some become confused and cannot find an answer, and in that very moment they are taught that the mind has no fixed form that can be grasped. The mind is not a permanent entity, yet, because people cling to it as real, they continually chase external conditions and give rise to endless afflictions. It is precisely this pursuit of external objects that causes the mind to grow increasingly disturbed and drift away from its inherently pure nature. The awakened ones teach that to realize the true mind, one must let go of all attachments to form and discriminating thoughts. In the scriptures, the four notions of self, person, sentient being, and lifespan are described as the fundamental attachments that bind beings in suffering. Attachment to self is clinging to an I. Attachment to others creates division. Attachment to beings clings to multiplicity. And attachment to lifespan clings to permanence. Because of clinging to these illusory constructs, people fail to see the truth and continue wandering endlessly in rebirth. The Bodhisattvas, through deep contemplation, realize that all phenomena are empty of inherent existence and thus transcend all suffering with freedom and ease. Body and mind are merely combinations of elements, such as form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, with no independent essence. Form belongs to the physical body, while feeling, perception, formations, and consciousness belong to the mental processes that are constantly changing. Feelings of joy and sorrow, discriminating thoughts, and actions all arise due to conditions and lack any fixed nature. Gautama Buddha compared the body to a hollow banana trunk, feelings to bubbles, perceptions to illusions, and mental formations to a ceaseless, flowing stream. All of these are compounded and impermanent, with nothing stable to cling to or hold on to. There is a story of a person meditating who suddenly saw frightening images arise, causing fear and agitation within the mind. The person attempted to destroy these images, but was fortunately guided in time by a wise teacher.
The teacher instructed them to carefully observe and identify where the images appeared in order to discover their origin. By following this guidance, the person realized that the images did not come from outside, but arose from their own mind. Through this realization, they understood that all delusions originate internally, rather than from external conditions. From then on, they learned to maintain mindfulness so as not to be disturbed by illusory appearances. When such thoughts are no longer nourished, they naturally dissolve without the need to resist or eliminate them. There was a meditation master who, whenever unwholesome thoughts arose, would immediately remind himself to remain aware so as not to be deceived. By maintaining such vigilance, he quickly attained deep concentration and profound wisdom. In contrast, ordinary people, due to ignorance, cling to the body as real and create countless distinctions and judgments. From this arise attachment and aversion, anger and resentment, generating endless karma that leads to prolonged suffering. Gautama Buddha taught that all phenomena are governed by the mind, which leads all actions and determines all outcomes. If the mind is unwholesome, suffering follows, like the wheel follows the foot of the ox pulling the cart. Conversely, if the mind is wholesome, happiness follows, like a shadow that never leaves the body. Everything is created by the mind, and therefore, to transform one's life, one must begin by transforming the mind itself. There are those who have practiced for many years, yet still have not overcome desire, because their minds remain scattered and attached. Cravings for sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touch, and mental objects continually pull the mind without rest. Without awareness, one becomes controlled by these desires and cannot attain true peace. The story of the turtle and the dog reminds us that restraining the senses
is the way to protect oneself from danger. When we return to ourselves and maintain mindfulness, we are no longer shaken by external conditions and gradually move toward liberation. The story of the turtle shows that when facing danger, withdrawing its limbs protects it from harm, just as a practitioner who guards the 6 sense faculties is not harmed by external influences. With its protective shell, the turtle escapes the jaws of the dog, offering a profound lesson on safeguarding both body and mind. If people fail to understand impermanence and allow their senses to wander freely, afflictions will easily invade and lead to suffering. When the body perishes and life comes to an end, if the mind has not been trained, one will continue to wander endlessly in the cycle of birth and death. All of this suffering originates from the mind, and therefore liberation can only be achieved by returning to practice and transforming the inner world. Gautama Buddha taught that one must guard the 6 sense faculties as carefully as protecting a strong fortress against invading enemies. If the mind is well protected, greed, anger, and delusion will gradually be eliminated, and true peace will arise. On the other hand, if one is careless, afflictions will invade like enemies entering an unguarded city, bringing about suffering and distress. For this reason, a true practitioner must cultivate diligence and perseverance in order to overcome the restless and delusive thoughts arising within the mind. All realms within the cycle of samsara are created by the mind, for it is the master that fashions heaven or hell for oneself. When the mind is pure, life becomes peaceful and joyful. But when the mind is defiled, suffering naturally arises. The mind can become a Buddha when awakened, yet it can also become a demon when obscured by ignorance. Thus, the difference between delusion and awakening lies entirely in whether the mind is mindful and aware. If one is governed by greed, anger, and delusion, one will easily commit wrongful actions that lead to painful consequences. At that point, regret will come too late, for once karma is created, one must bear its results. Therefore, Gautama Buddha taught that wherever mindfulness and awareness are present, there is peace and happiness. Conversely, wherever mindfulness is absent, suffering and unrest will inevitably arise. In family life, even a small moment of carelessness in speech can lead to conflict and eventual breakdown. From seemingly trivial matters, if one does not know how to stop in time, disputes can escalate and cause deep harm to one another. Many families fall into painful separation due to a lack of patience and understanding. Once the consequences have unfolded, regret cannot restore what has already been lost. Therefore, one must remain mindful at all times to prevent conflicts from arising at their very beginning. If one knows how to stop at the right moment, there will be no affliction or suffering. Those who do not follow the teachings of the Buddha will experience suffering both in the present and in the future as a result of their karma. Because of craving, anger, and jealousy, people create countless conflicts within families and society. From minor issues, these conflicts grow into major disputes, causing relationships to fracture. Even loved ones can become adversaries when there is a lack of understanding and compassion. When resentment accumulates, people easily harm one another without considering the consequences. Love, if not guided by wisdom, can itself become a source of suffering. The changing nature of relationships clearly reveals the impermanent nature of life. The deeper cause of all this suffering lies in selfishness and stubborn attachment within each individual. It is often small matters, magnified by the mind, that cause people to bring suffering upon themselves and others. Many mental illnesses also arise from stress and afflictions accumulated in daily life. Small conflicts, if not skillfully resolved, can lead to serious and lasting consequences. Most human suffering originates from pride and unnecessary attachment. If one learns to let go of what is unimportant, the mind becomes lighter and more at ease. Life is short and should not be wasted on meaningless afflictions. Instead, one should cultivate wholesome thoughts and live with a heart of compassion. When the mind is nourished with goodness, life becomes more joyful, meaningful, and fulfilling. Remember that human life passes quickly, and therefore time should be devoted to practice and virtuous living. In this world, trivial matters are not worth clinging to. Yet very few people realize this and continue competing and arguing over insignificant things. From small family disagreements, conflicts can escalate into great hostility, even leading to violence and wars between nations. All of this originates from selfishness, from the desire to claim benefit for oneself without yielding or understanding others. Thus, resentment continues to accumulate without resolution, keeping people trapped in suffering. If one learns to let go of anger, cultivate tolerance, and bring goodness to others, resentment will gradually dissolve. Those who live with compassion and practice generosity will accumulate immeasurable merit and move closer to awakening. Conversely, if one uses harsh words and violent actions toward others, hatred will continue to arise without end. A person who lives gently, respectfully, and without belittling others will gradually untangle all bonds of resentment. The wise have taught that repaying hatred with kindness dissolves enmity, whereas repaying hatred with hatred only deepens suffering. Therefore, one should not hold on to past wounds, for doing so only clouds wisdom and nourishes anger. Anger is like a burning fire that consumes the heart, leading one to create harmful karma and endure prolonged suffering. These are compassionate reminders from the awakened ones for those who still wander in ignorance within this life. Yet not everyone is willing to reflect and practice in this way, because many still believe that gentleness and kindness are signs of weakness. This is a mistaken view, for only those with true wisdom know how to be patient and maintain inner peace in the face of adversity. To overcome this misunderstanding, one must cultivate firm faith in the three jewels and deeply understand the law of cause and effect. When harmed by others, one should contemplate that it may be the result of past actions one has created, or one may view the person causing harm as someone who is suffering and in need of compassion rather than blame. When we remain silent and do not respond with anger, the other person gradually loses the motivation to continue their aggression. The law of karma teaches that if we wish to understand the past, we should look at the present, and if we wish to know the future, we should observe our actions today. If a person lives harshly and harms others, they will gradually be avoided and lose the respect of those around them. This leads to isolation within both family and society, creating suffering for themselves. Violence, arguments, and insulting speech are all signs of ignorance and a lack of moral cultivation. A person of wisdom and virtue would never behave in such ways in life. When the mind is filled with anger, it is best not to speak or act, as doing so may harm both oneself and others.
Instead, one should return to mindful recitation, contemplate cause and effect, or step away from the situation until the mind becomes calm. When the mind regains its composure, words and actions naturally become wise and bring about beneficial outcomes. If we wish to help others transform, we should begin by acknowledging their strengths before pointing out their shortcomings. Skillful and sincere speech makes it easier for others to accept and change. In contrast, harsh criticism, especially in front of others, causes hurt and deepens resentment. When resolving conflicts, one should not take sides, but instead understand the consequences of dispute and guide both parties toward reconciliation. Timely and wise counsel can prevent regrettable outcomes and preserve harmony. Those who know how to conduct themselves skillfully can build a harmonious and wholesome life within both family and society. Gautama Buddha once asked his disciples how they lived together in such harmony and peace, offering a profound question for each person to reflect upon themselves. They replied that they upheld moral precepts, cultivated loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, and lived with humility, respect, and gentleness toward all beings. They practiced patience and tolerance, placing themselves in the position of others in order to understand and support one another in daily life. No one lived selfishly or for personal gain, but instead cared for the needs and happiness of others, progressing together on the path of practice. Because of this, their body, speech, and mind were pure and harmonious, like water blended with milk, without division or conflict. Upon hearing this, the Buddha rejoiced and praised them, for this is the ideal way of life that practitioners should aspire toward. He taught that true harmony is a noble quality and a shining example for all to follow in life. When we look back at ourselves, we see that disharmony often arises from stubbornness, rigidity, and the desire for others to conform to our own views. When things do not go as we wish, we become irritated, attempt to impose our will, and may even harm others, which is a grave mistake. Each person has their own karma and circumstances, and therefore cannot be forced to be exactly like us. A wise person turns inward to examine their own faults rather than focusing only on the faults of others. And this is the correct path. If we wish to help others change, we must first transform ourselves and act with genuine compassion. When we treat others with kindness through wholesome speech and actions, they will naturally respond with goodwill. In life,
Many people only wish to receive benefits from others, while forgetting that they themselves have not done good for anyone. This is a delusion, for blessings do not arise without the planting of wholesome causes. A wise person does not need to seek, for they already possess abundance through living for others and creating merit through their actions. The most important thing is to maintain a pure mind, for it is the foundation of all peace and happiness. Gautama Buddha taught many methods to purify the mind, among which associating with virtuous friends is especially important. By being near the wise, we learn what is right and cultivate goodness within ourselves. Conversely, if we associate with unwholesome people, we are easily influenced and gradually become like them. Just as being near fragrance makes the body fragrant, while being near impurity causes unpleasant odor, so too does our environment shape our mind. Therefore, one must choose companions wisely and live in environments that nurture wholesome qualities. In addition, upholding moral precepts is essential for keeping the mind stable and peaceful. Without moral discipline, the mind is easily led astray by desire and cannot attain true purity. A true practitioner must be mindful in even the smallest actions, never overlooking faults, no matter how minor they may seem. Even the smallest good deed should be done, and even the smallest wrongdoing should be avoided. For over time, both accumulate into something significant. Gautama Buddha taught that one should never underestimate a small evil, for it can grow into great karma that brings serious consequences. Likewise, small acts of goodness, when consistently practiced, can give rise to immense blessings and merit. One who does good is like a vessel slowly filled drop by drop with water, unseen at first, yet inevitably becoming full over time. The same is true for wrongdoing, as its consequences may not appear immediately, but will gradually ripen into suffering. Therefore, we must remain mindful in every thought and action in order to build a life of peace and move toward liberation. One should not gather merely to engage in idle talk, for speech that is not aligned with the true path only increases afflictions and disturbs the mind. A practitioner should guide their speech toward praising contentment, simplicity, moral discipline, meditation, wisdom, and the path of liberation for the benefit of oneself and others. Most afflictions in life arise from gossip, judging right and wrong, praising and criticizing others without reflecting upon oneself. Some people not only speak of worldly matters, but also judge and compare those on the spiritual path, which is truly regrettable. In truth, each practitioner is on a path of transforming karma, with strengths and shortcomings alike, and thus should not be judged harshly. When we give rise to criticism, jealousy, or opposition, we unknowingly harm harmony and cause others to misunderstand the true teachings. Gautama Buddha once taught that the Dharma is not destroyed by external forces, but by disciples who fail to guard their own minds. Therefore, we must be extremely careful with speech, avoiding lies, harsh words, and divisive talk. The wise of old advised that we should view all beings with compassion, recognizing that everyone is on their own path of learning and transformation. When we speak ill of others, we lose the purity of our own mind and create unnecessary resentment. Speech lacking mindfulness can lead to conflict, hatred, and regrettable consequences. Thus, a wise person must guard their speech, ensuring that words do not become the cause of suffering. If we live according to the true teachings and encourage one another to do good, much suffering in life will naturally diminish. Moral discipline acts like a protective fence, preventing wrongdoing and preserving the purity of body and mind. When one upholds precepts and speaks truthfully, one lives peacefully and earns the respect of others. The Buddha taught that one who guards their speech, avoids harsh words, and refrains from gossip will enjoy a life of peace. In addition, one should contemplate the impure nature of the body in order to reduce attachment and craving for outward appearances. The body is composed of many elements and contains impure substances, and therefore is not worthy of clinging or attachment. Through deep contemplation of this truth, desire gradually fades, and the mind becomes more pure and serene. However, in practice, one must skillfully choose appropriate objects of meditation so as not to further disturb the mind. It is also essential to contemplate impermanence, seeing that all phenomena are constantly changing and nothing endures forever. All things arise due to conditions, and when those conditions cease, they disappear, leaving nothing that can be held on to. The mind is the same, having no fixed location, existing only as the interplay of conditions. When conditions are present, it arises. When they cease, it fades away, and no permanent essence can be found. Understanding this helps us release attachment to the mind and attain freedom. The true mind is awareness without attachment, while the deluded mind perceives but clings with craving and grasping. A practitioner must clearly distinguish these two states in order not to be controlled by delusion. Through deep contemplation, we see that all phenomena are without self, and nothing can truly be called mine. Even this body cannot be controlled, for illness and death can come at any moment. Pleasure and pain are merely temporary states without any lasting essence. Even the teachings themselves are skillful means to help us cross beyond suffering, and should not be clung to as rigid forms or views. If one clings to the teachings and engages in disputes, one has already strayed from the path of liberation. A wise person uses the teachings like a raft to cross a river, not carrying it once the other shore has been reached. Ignorance causes people to cling to the body as real and seek to satisfy desires, thereby generating endless suffering. Many believe that worldly pleasures are true happiness, not realizing that such pleasures are the very seeds of future suffering. When people chase after fine food, beautiful clothing, and sensual pleasures, they exhaust themselves in pursuit and may even resort to harmful means to achieve their desires. Some, driven by greed, are willing to act wrongly in order to gain wealth, status, and comfort, without concern for the suffering they cause others.
Yet when they possess great wealth, they often live in fear and unease, constantly worrying about loss, theft, or unforeseen misfortune that may take everything away. Even the pleasures of sensual desire that people consider happiness conceal countless consequences and suffering beneath their surface. For such pleasures are only temporary, eventually giving way to emptiness, inner turmoil, and endless attachments that bind the heart. Out of ignorance, people mistake suffering for happiness, immersing themselves in sensual indulgence without recognizing its true nature as a source of pain. Life itself is fragile and fleeting, and behind worldly joys always lie hidden sorrows and unpredictable misfortunes. The wise of the past have taught that pleasure rooted in craving is the very cause that perpetuates samsara and endless suffering. Only by transforming suffering into wisdom and taking joy in the path of practice itself can one transcend the cycle of pleasure and pain and move toward true liberation.